For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat. The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest.
Strait of Hormuz, 34 kilometers southeast of Bandar Abbas, 5:40 in the morning. 84 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment were packed into 4 boarding craft and 2 MH-60 helicopters moving toward 10 Iranian ships trying to cross the blockade line. On those ships, 186 Iranian forces guarded 24 anti-ship missiles, 18 drone crates, and 410 tons of fuel and ammunition. The U.S. Army had 82 minutes to stop the convoy before it reached open water. The convoy was not carrying food or medicine. It was carrying missile tubes, drone parts, radio gear, and fuel that could reopen attacks farther west. Iranian forces believed the convoy could pass because it hugged the coast inside a screen of fast attack craft. They also believed coastal radar, shore launchers, and armed escorts would keep any boarding force away. The blockade line was covered by 1 destroyer and 2 patrol ships. The Iranian convoy had 6 fast attack craft, 2 missile boats, 1 logistics ship, and 1 towing vessel. Heavy PKM machine guns were mounted on 8 decks. RPG-7 teams were spread across 6 ships. 2 Zu-23-2 guns sat on the largest missile boats. Iranian forces thought no small assault force could board 10 moving ships before reinforcements left Bandar Abbas. The assault plan split the U.S. Army Rangers into 4 elements. Alpha would hit the 2 lead missile boats from the right flank, Bravo would board the logistics ship and the towing vessel from the rear. Charlie would fast rope from 2 helicopters onto the 4-center fast attack craft. Delta would stay on the boarding craft, cut left across the column, and seize the 2 trailing escort boats. The destroyer would fire 10 missiles only if the convoy scattered or shore batteries opened up. At 5:48, the assault began. The blockade force switched on floodlights, issued 1 warning, and then closed the gap from 1,200 meters to 300. Iranian forces answered with tracer fire from 3 decks. Alpha gunners fired Mk-19 grenade launchers at the bow guns of the lead boat. Charlie ropes dropped from both helicopters. Bravo engines surged forward through the wake. Delta cut left and aimed for the rear pair before the convoy could turn north. The first positions fell in less than 2 minutes. Alpha hit the first missile boat with 2 ladders and 1 flash charge. Rangers carrying M4A1 SOP-Mod 2 carbines cleared the upper deck and forced 9 Iranian forces below. Charlie landed hard on 2 fast attack craft at once. Bravo climbed onto the towing vessel under fire from a DSHK mount, then put 2 bursts from an M24OB into the gun shield. Delta rammed the stern of the last escort boat through hooks and crossed in 11 seconds. At 5:50, Iranian forces understood it was not a warning move. It was a seizure. 1 missile boat turned toward the coast. The destroyer fired 2 SM-6 missiles past the convoy at a shore radar site that had locked on. Seconds later, 2 SM-2 missiles struck a second emitter closer to the beach. The convoy lost radar support. Iranian crews fired by sight. That made them slower and exposed. It gave the U.S. Army Rangers room to split the column. Alpha reached the bridge of the first missile boat and found the wheel locked over. A Ranger dropped the helmsman with 3 shots. Another smashed the radio rack. A third dragged the throttle back to idle. The boat slewed broadside. The second missile boat tried to slip past. Alpha fired 1 AT-4 into the waterline just forward of its engine space. The blast did not sink the hull, but it knocked out speed. The boat dropped from 31 knots to 7. Bravo hit the logistics ship and found the main passage blocked by welded chain and cargo netting. A breacher clipped date cord around the chain and detonated it. The net dropped. Bravo moved through. Iranian forces on the lower deck opened up with 2 AK-74 rifles and 1 PKM machine gun. A Ranger with a MK-48 Mod 0 laid down 7 seconds of fire. 2 others rushed the stairwell with MK-18C QBR carbines. The lower deck was taken in 48 seconds. Bravo counted 12 missile crates and 6 drone containers beside fuel drums. At 5:52, Charlie was still fighting across the center of the convoy. The first helicopter team cleared one deck house, crossed a narrow gangway, and took control of the steering console. The second helicopter team landed on a boat carrying a ZU-23-2 gun behind sandbags. The gun crew got off 14 rounds. Then a Ranger fired 1 Carl Gustaf M3 round from the cabin roof. The shield folded. The gun stopped. Iranian forces on the next boat tried to jump across with ropes. Charlie cut the ropes and dropped 4 men into the water. Delta had the hardest lane. Iranian forces on the last escort boat had stacked oil drums into a chest-high wall around the bridge. Delta gunners hit the wall with 1 linear charge. The blast opened a shoulder-wide gap. Rangers fired through it with M4A1 SOP Mod 2 carbines and moved in. On the second rear boat, 3 Iranian forces aimed an RPG-7 at Delta's boarding craft. A Ranger on the bow fired a MK-11 Mod 0 sniper rifle shot that hit the lead gunner in the neck. The rocket never launched. By 5:54, the convoy was no longer a single unit. It was 10 separate fights. The destroyer tracked 4 fast contacts coming out of Bandar Abbas. They were 19 kilometers away and closing. A second warning went out. No answer came back. The destroyer then launched 2 more SM-6 missiles at a pair of armed drones lifting from the shoreline. Both drones were hit before they crossed 8 kilometers. On deck, the U.S. Army Rangers kept moving because every extra minute helped Iranian forces regroup. Alpha secured the second missile boat by going low. The bridge doors were pinned from inside with steel bar. A breacher taped C4 to both hinges and blasted inward. 2 Iranian forces behind the chart table were killed. 3 more ran for the stern rack, holding 4 anti-ship missile canisters. Rangers shot 2 and captured 1. Alpha then pulled thermite grenades and burned the launch wiring, fire control screens, and targeting relay. The missiles stayed intact, but the boats could no longer fire them. Bravo moved aft on the logistics ship and reached the fuel section. 1 burst of tracer from the deck above hit 2 drums and started a thin fire. A Ranger kicked the burning drums overboard. Another dragged a hose. A third tossed a smoke grenade into the upper hatch and charged behind it. Bravo reached the top deck, shot 3 Iranian forces at close range, and captured the engine room intact. A dead engine would drift the ship toward the convoy again. At 5:56, Iranian forces changed tactics. Instead of trying to hold every ship, they tried to cripple the ones already taken. 2 escort boats opened crossfire on Bravo's hull. Rounds punched through railing, antennas, and 1 cabin wall. The destroyer could not fire that close. Delta answered with direct fire. 1 Ranger set an M2 Browning on the bow mount of the boarding craft and walked rounds across both hostile decks. Charlie followed with 3 Hellfire strikes from overhead support. The 3 AGM-114 Hellfires hit engines and stern rails. Both escort boats stopped dead. Charlie then pushed boat to boat in the center. 1 fast attack craft still had 16 Iranian forces below deck and a PKM machine gun firing up the stairs. The stairwell was too narrow. A Ranger rolled 2 flash charges down. The blasts stunned the gun crew. Charlie dropped in behind the flashes and cleared 3 compartments in 36 seconds. On the next craft, the pilot tried to ram the towing vessel. Charlie shot out the bridge windows, climbed through, and forced the helm hard right. The 2 hulls missed by less than 4 meters. At 5:58, 18 minutes into the operation, Iranian shore batteries joined the fight. Radar was damaged, but spotters could still see flashes on the water. 2 rockets splashed wide of the destroyer. A third passed over the convoy and landed behind Delta. The destroyer answered fast. 2 BG-M109 Tomahawk missiles hit the launch area near the coast. Seconds later, Phalanx C IWS opened on one incoming drone that had slipped low over the water. The drone broke apart 700 meters from the blockade line. The U.S. Army Rangers kept working their sectors. Alpha found a second problem inside the first missile boat. The magazine hatch had been locked and wired with a dead man pull cord. Opened the wrong way, it would set off charges around rockets and fuel. A breacher cut the cord with a hook knife through the gap under the hatch. Another Ranger slid a shaped charge against the lock wheel and blew it free. Inside were 8 anti-ship missiles, 22 RPG-7 rounds, 17 AK-74 rifles, and 9 sealed guidance units. Alpha marked the hold and posted 4 Rangers to guard it. Bravo secured the towing vessel at 6 o'clock in the morning. The pilot had tried to foul the prop on purpose by dumping cable into the wake. Bravo stopped him with 2 shots to the shoulder. Then they found what the vessel was carrying. Beneath tarps were 41 fuel bladders, 28 artillery shells, 14 radio sets, and 6 crates of drone motors. Bravo tied the pilot, cut the tow line, and turned the vessel south. One Ranger had been hit in the calf, another had burns on both hands. Neither left the fight. By 6:02, Delta had crossed onto the 9th ship and was clearing the 10th. Resistance was still sharp. Iranian forces on the 9th boat fired from behind engine blocks and spare tires. Delta could not see them from the ladder. A Ranger used a mirror on a pole, marked 3 positions, and fired one short MK-48 Mod 0 burst through the panel. Then Delta rushed the compartment. On the 10th boat, 2 Iranian forces tried to scuttle the hull by opening sea valves and swinging a fuel hose over a hot manifold. Delta shot both men and sealed the valves before water rose above the deck plates. At 6:04, the first Iranian reinforcements were 11 kilometers away. They were 4 fast boats and 2 helicopters. They had to finish now. The destroyer fired 2 final SM-2 missiles at the lead helicopter pair after both aircraft ignored warnings to break off. One helicopter turned away. The other dropped into the water, trailing smoke. The 4 fast boats kept coming. A patrol ship on the western edge opened with a MK-38 gun, while Delta's M2 Browning kept hammering from close range. 2 boats broke off, 2 kept charging. Charlie saw those last 2 boats racing toward the center ships. Rangers on the captured gunboat turned the seized ZU-23-2 by hand and fired at 600 meters. The first burst walked across the lead attack craft and tore through its engine casing. The boat veered hard and stopped. The second fast boat tried to pass between the logistics ship and the towing vessel. Bravo gunners hit it with one Carl Gustaf M 3-round at 140 meters. The stern lifted. The bow slammed down. Survivors jumped overboard. None reached the convoy. At 6:06, the objective was effectively seized. All 10 Iranian ships were under U.S. control or dead in the water inside the blockade line. Rangers moved from clearing to securing. Zip ties came out, weapons were stacked, wounded Iranian forces were pulled into open deck space. 8 missiles were found on the first missile boat, 16 more were found on the second. Bravo counted 18 drone crates across the logistics ship and the towing vessel. Delta found encrypted radios, navigation tables, and route cards showing a planned run to the east side of the Gulf. The final resistance ended at 6:09. 3 Iranian forces who had hidden inside a pump room on the logistics ship opened fire through a vent and wounded 1 Ranger in the shoulder. Bravo answered with 1 flash charge through the hatch and stormed the room. 2 Iranian forces were killed, 1 surrendered. That was the last shot on board the convoy. Phalanx C IWS then broke up a fresh drone pair before it reached the captured ships. By 6:14, 1 hour after first contact, tow lines were connected, fires were out, and the convoy was being pulled deeper into the blockade zone. U.S. Army Rangers moved prisoners ship by ship. Each deck was searched twice. Each bridge was photographed, each hold was checked for charges. Thermite had disabled 2 missile fire control systems, but the missiles themselves were preserved for intelligence work. Engineers confirmed 7 ships could move under their own power, while 3 needed tow support because of engine or steering damage. At 6:22, late Iranian reinforcements reached visual range and then stopped. They saw the convoy under guard, the shore radar sites silent, and the destroyer still holding missile cover overhead. The patrol ships spread wider. One final warning was issued. The reinforcements turned back toward the coast after 4 minutes. The mission had lasted 42 minutes from assault start to full control. Withdrawal took another 28 minutes. By 6:50 in the morning, the captured convoy was fully inside the blockade line. The final count was exact. The U.S. Army lost 2 Rangers killed and 9 wounded. Iranian forces lost 27 killed, 39 wounded, and 52 captured. That was 118 total losses out of 186, and 68 survivors escaped or were rescued from the water. The U.S. Army seized 10 ships, 24 anti-ship missiles, 18 drone crates, 41 fuel bladders, 28 artillery shells, 14 encrypted radios, 9 guidance units, 17 AK-74 rifles, 22 RPG-7 rounds, and route plans for future blockade runs. 2 Iranian shore radar sites, 1 rocket position, 4 drones, 4 fast boats, and 2 helicopter airframes were destroyed. The value of destroyed or captured equipment was estimated at $214 million. Iran believed 10 armed ships, coastal radar, shore batteries, and fast reinforcements would make this convoy untouchable. What happened was faster and more complete than Iranian forces planned for. Iranian forces had speed, numbers, escorts, and shoreline support. What they did not have was 84 U.S. Army Rangers willing to seize 10 moving ships before sunrise.